Hello and welcome to the Bee Formless Flow Driven CEO podcast. I'm welcoming from the LA area of America. Everyone knows Los Angeles, I should say, LA. And I'm welcoming Michael Brown to the show. Welcome, Michael.
B, how are you? Great to
Yeah,
be here.
not too bad. How are you?
I'm doing good. Yeah, doing good.
That's
Yeah,
good.
all things considered, right?
Yeah. I know it's pretty wild times, isn't it, at the moment? It's nice to get asked how you are at the start of a pod, isn't it? I don't like, it's generally just intro and then we're straight on into it. So thank you for asking how I am. It's very kind of you and
Mhm,
good way to
mhm.
start a show. Michael, we've got a bit to unpack. I've decided. I met you a couple of weeks ago or a few weeks ago, and we had a great connection session, if you like. And it sounds like you had a big year, and you're continuing to, heading into 2026 with what you're doing. I probably aren't going to do it justice, but I'm going to I've introduced you, introduce your business, and then hand it over to you to talk more in detail around it because we've got a lot to talk about, all things cognitive science, solving problems in, from a traditional healthcare sense into the now. We had a good conversation the other week around AI, hallucinations, all of that, and you called out some stats for me, and I haven't stopped thinking about it since. And then I kind of go, when is AI hallucinating? When is it? Like every time I talk to it now, I'm like, are you having a hallucination? And that's ever since I spoke to you. So thank you for that. But you are the founder of CloudNine AI. I've got that right. Yes. Yes, CloudNine
You
AI.
do.
And how long, and I forgot to ask you, how long have you had the company for?
Company was founded about 5 years ago, just before COVID.
Yeah.
Founded
And
during COVID.
yeah, right. So it's a code for baby. Well, just on. And it's an augmented intelligence platform aimed at unifying complex enterprise data for faster analysis and decision making. So think knowledge management, operations, analytics, etc. And you've had some clients like on kidney dialysis clients, etc. And I'll let you talk about that. Uh, and essentially, it's a startup bootstrapped. It was a startup bootstrapped to now, and recently you guys have been raising your first institutional rounds, angel investors, and then a bigger investor. And from a pre-seed perspective, you've raised approximately 1 million, and you're about to, or you have just launched your first two products. Did I get all that right?
Mhm. You did. Great summary.
Yeah, amazing. I did listen. I'm a very good listener. I listen actively, and then I make all my notes. I don't let ChatGPT do it all. So when you booked in for the pod, and I threw a question at you, and I said, "What's your unique experience or insight when it comes to life leadership and or business?" You wrote me this amazing, like, almost like a one-page summary. And I'm just going to call out a few things. You said the unique insight that guides my perspective in leadership and business is a transformative difference between artificial intelligence and augmented intelligence. So keen to unpack that. You said most leaders today are focused on AI as a means of replacing routine tasks, replacing simple decision making, and cutting costs. But the highest value work, the kind that changes industries, is not about replacement, it's about augmentation. Your most profound business experience has been trying to automate our clients' data compliance, privacy, and governance while empowering them to solve challenges in unprecedented context. But then you put in big bold, here is my insight. The ultimate leverage in the next decade will not be in maximizing machine output, but in maximizing human potential. And I could not agree more. And we need to maximize human potential so much at the moment. We need to bring all the goodness back into the world and take it forward because we're lacking that. And we can only get that through human potential. We can't get that through machines. And then you said when you shifted your focus to augmented intelligence, excuse me, we were selling superhuman amplification and capacity. And he said the unique insight is that true leadership in the AI era is about building tools that allow humans to be more human, not less. So it's quite timely that I'm talking to you today. Tell us, you've really thought hard about the response to this question, and I really appreciate you giving those responses and answers. It's going to be could be its own chapter in my book. But tell us a little bit about tell us a lot about Cloud9 AI and tell us Tell us why the human potential and I guess this augmentation piece. Yeah, that would be great.
Well, first, I'd probably start by saying that, well, you gave so much thought into your question. And so, based upon our original conversation, I knew how much time you had spent on doing some research. And so, we had touched on a very new topic. And I thought, okay, let me give you my perspective and kind of get that snapshot. And
Thank
so,
you.
your first question was, how do we bring it in for human potential?
Yeah.
Was
Yeah.
that the first? Did I get that right? Yeah. So, I think the first thing is just getting more humans involved. I mean, with machines, there's no empathy, right? And there's no understanding of context of the things that are around. And without question, we have humans that have so much knowledge and information. And the way that machines are working right now are based on the architecture. It's a statistical model based upon statistical probabilities. And what humans are looking for, we're looking for the truth. You know, like if my mother has cancer, and let's say
Sorry to hear
you or
that.
somebody in your family has cancer. Well,
My
unfortunately,
dad
we caught
does.
it early.
Yeah.
Yeah, but here's the thing, is that you have to catch cancer early, and it's treatable, right? But the challenge is that if my mother has stage 4 lung cancer and your father has stage 4 lung cancer, there's a difference between what stage 4 is, right? And so what we have to do is get the humans involved to say, okay, there's a lot of data that's out there. We want to know what's the truth and what's the best path forward of treatment for either my mother or your father. The other thing is that when you put technology in the hands of humans, they have a completely different perspective on what they're going to build. We originally built our first, or what Cloud9 is.
Yeah.
So we're an AI company that instead of practicing artificial intelligence, we're practicing augmented intelligence. And the difference is that you're putting humans in the middle. And there's many differences. One, what we know. What we know about hallucinations, right? Those are just a fact there, and that's with any large language model that you choose. And we
Sorry,
also
Michael.
know,
Sorry, Michael, can we just pause there for a second? Because I'm not sure everyone does know what a hallucination is. Like, if we share this with the audience, if you can just give a little brief explanation, please, because I think it's
oh,
important because yeah, I'm not sure everyone
sure,
knows
sure,
specifically what a hallucination is when it comes to AI.
sure. So it's anytime you use any one of the large language models, let's say ChatGPT or Gemini, and you ask a question and the model gives you back an answer that's confident and it's fast and it may not be accurate. And so, in many cases, humans have to intervene and check the data to make sure of the accuracy because it's given to you and presented to you in such a confident way,
Yeah, of
right? And so that's some of the chance. It's almost like if you want to search information on Michael Brown, okay? We know in the world that so I'm in LA, there's more than one Michael Brown that's here. And so anytime you do a search and review Michael Brown, you won't get the right information, right? That's an hallucination. It'll tell you information about Cloud9. It'll draw information from other Michael Browns that are out there that may be an AI, and both of our backgrounds will be involved. And that's a classic case of a hallucination that you'll see today.
yeah. There you go. It's fascinating,
Yeah.
isn't it? And that's why, like you say, the
Yeah.
human potential piece as well in here, because if we just think AI can do it all, it can't because it's inaccurate. We're looking for truth, right? And what you're explaining there is it's not always truthful. So you cannot just think that it can just do everything and job done, you know?
Yeah, it's not built that way. It's built to do some things, to grab information, you know, to retrieve information and bring it back in a rapid format, but it's not good at understanding, really deeply understanding context or the consequence. Whenever you're in healthcare and you have to have an understanding of chemistry, also engineering, and any type of biology, that's not something that an AI tool can do with exact. precision.
Yeah. Interesting.
So that's been some of the challenge. But yeah,
Yeah.
so what we do is we provide transparency, for companies that are looking for. That's one of the problems with outside of hallucinations. They consider the technology also opaque. Some of the answers aren't explainable. And so what we try to do is add transparency on top of the large language models that companies are currently using. The companies are looking for um, the ability to govern data, right? Not just analytics, but they want to be able to govern, keep information secure. Also, they want transparency, auditability. And they think those are components that'll drive to a hallucination-free AI model.
And do you think that we're far off a hallucination-free AI model? Like, what is the solve to this? Is this augmentation the solve? Is that what you're saying with humans in the middle? Like, can you explain a little bit about that and what Cloud9 AI is
Yeah.
doing with regards to how you bring humans in the middle of this? Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, humans are in the middle of introducing the feature set or guiding what the features may be or what the customization may be. A human may want the model to be customized specifically for them, for the requirements that they have. And one of the challenges that these models have is that the memory is not persistent. It's not innate within the architecture. So they're relying the memory on other developers to program that in. But the challenge is that if you need these models to remember who you are, once you take data and you put it in. So if you take a larger amount of data and you put it into any one of these models, they take a long time to comprehend the data, or in many cases, there's no understanding of it. Because I've tested it. I take our white papers, which are very technical, dump it into the model, and see what it comes up with. And it's not accurate. It's very generic, but it's not accurate at all. And so that's because a lot of the things that we're working on, it's new. So anytime I put any documentation into any one of the models, there's a lot of inaccuracies that are found. So you want information that's accurate. And so what humans want is I want something that works for me. So with our healthcare client, it's not just healthcare, but you mentioned they're in kidney dialysis,
Yeah.
and so they want something specific for them. And this company, they've been collecting, or they've been in the kidney dialysis research for 100 years. They make the equipment, make the materials, and then they also provide the services. And so the challenge that they have is gathering the information that they've been collecting and finding additional cures because they know they have a lot of great information in there and they're learning things that are new. With kidney dialysis, there wasn't in the past, you couldn't regenerate or renew your kidney genes
Yeah.
once they were damaged. And now they're discovering that you can. So they're saying, okay, what other things can we actually discover? But the problem is that they have so much information and they have to follow regulatory environments like HIPAA, but also, I don't know if you have HIPAA. So in HIPAA in the United States is a federal requirement, but in every state in the United States is really like its own country. So there's also a state requirement. And so our kidney company has to follow HIPAA, which is a federal
Federal.
requirement, but they
Yeah.
also have to follow
The state.
state. It's too hard.
Yeah.
It's too complicated to do. There's a lot of manual intervention, a lot of errors.
Fascinating. It's so fascinating. How did you come to seeing this as a problem like back in 5 years ago? Like what, yeah, how did you come to going, we need to help clients, like what was it that kind of got you to then to found Cloud9 AI? Like what was there some moment where you were like, oh, this is a problem that's not being solved. How do we solve it? Or were you back then thinking, AI as we know it, it needs a human in the middle, and we need to start working on this now.
I wish it started that way, but no, it usually doesn't. It usually starts with doing other things that don't work. typically how it starts. And so I was part of the deployment of the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. And so during that time frame, I had the opportunity to work with a lot of insurance companies and large amounts of data and big teams, a lot of technical teams. And so we worked with early stage technology, first blockchain technology, and then we saw the problems. So that once you see the problems that are happening in healthcare, you typically try to search for a bunch of tools that you can use. When you're working with technical people, they might have 50 different tools, dev tools they're looking at, and things that are either new or robust or things that are up and coming that can you modify it to make it work. And when when I got into AI and 2017, artificial intelligence, it was really just basic machine learning, and then trying to figure out how can you use the technology to can we make any improvements? Can you grab other technologies, kind of orchestrate things to make any improvements? And so that's when we saw, augmented intelligence was really the path, just because, especially in healthcare, you have a lot of scientists and researchers.
Yeah,
They're not technical. They're like your cancer researchers. That person's been in cancer for 30 years, right?
yeah,
Collected so much, and many cancer scientists, they might be in pediatric cancer. There's so many specialists. They're not technical. So you have to break down the technology for them so it's understandable and workable for them. So that's when we said, okay, once you have these humans involved, they have a perspective. They know that it's really hard to get this data. It's really hard to understand which level stage of cancer I have to look at, which is the consensus on it, what's the best path for treatment. And then I have to figure out, am I protecting this patient's data correctly? So there's a lot of things they have to think about. And so whenever you incorporate humans, just like I said, we have another engineer in Amsterdam. He's working on a social services program. I would have never thought to build our technology or something like that. So he's using it to do something else.
yeah. It's interesting because you also said, excuse me, you also said there's so many pollens out here at the moment with summer. I don't know if it happens to you in the summer, but um, excuse me, you said in business and leadership, this translates to don't chase the trend of replacement, invest in the tools and culture that augments your people. You're talking exactly about that, right? Like, AI isn't a trend as such. It's a revolution. It's another revolution, like the internet was, like email was, except well, I don't know if they were internet was revolution, but where I'm going with this is that there's a lot of buzz out there around AI. Like there's absolutely lots of different buzzwords, but this isn't a trend that's going away. This is something that's here to stay. It's going to revolutionize so many different things that we don't even know what it's going to revolutionize yet in a way, right? But you're basically saying don't just chase the trend of replacement, which I feel like I won't say people, but there is a lot of, at the moment, potential replacement without actually taking a step back and going, well, hang on a second, how does AI or machine learning and the human, because what you're talking about here in its most simplest form, and sometimes I am simple, is how you collaborate with AI, how you work with it, and how what influence the human has as part of this. That's the feeling I'm getting from the human in the middle.
Mhm.
Yeah, you said don't chase the trend of replacement, invest in the tools and culture that augments your people. Is
Mhm.
that
Yeah, it
that
works for us.
yeah, that's a pardon?
Yeah, it works for us. It works for you.
Yeah,
We're and technology is not going to break through by itself. Humans are going to drive
yeah,
it. We will be the ones to look at technology. It's we were talking with even internally with our team. It's going to be more interesting what other people build with our tool than what we build.
yeah, that's
Think about
fascinating.
that. We've built the tool. Because we only know what we know. What you know in Australia is completely specific to you. You may say, okay, I need something specific to what I'm doing. You may see a problem a completely different way. And it's and I'm biased because, like I said, I came from the healthcare space. The way that I see problems are based upon healthcare corporate people, which it's not even in line with improving patient care. think about that. I spent 25 years in healthcare, and what I've learned is not really in line with patient care. I've been on the corporate side
Yeah.
learning prices,
Business.
increasing
Yeah.
margins, side. Now it's okay. Now we get to put something in the hands of the patient. That's only a doctor's going to know that. And seeing the patient, doing the diagnosis, rummaging through all of this noisy information, right? The doctor's going to say, okay, especially if they're in cancer, they're studying brain cancer. They want information based upon brain cancer, things that are associated to the brain. That's when data gets really interesting. Like with the kidney dialysis company. It's not only what you do to treat the kidney for dialysis, which is a regular treatment, but it's also what happens to prevent. What does it look like if you try to prevent? In other cases with cancer, because a lot of practitioners are thinking, okay, what's the best way to treat stage 4, stage 3 right now? There's another faction that are saying, what can we do to prevent cancer?
Yeah.
It's a completely different, I would have never considered that. And so that's a completely different perspective than, we would have ever thought of. But, you don't know until you actually speak with some of these scientists. They
Yeah,
say, have you thought of this? And
yeah, it's fascinating. So you've got this you provide them the platform, right? And then they basically do as they will what they need to do with it to bespoke it specifically to whatever problem they're solving. Is that right? And so then it's almost like, is it is this a question? Are they iterating off your platform, if that makes sense? So like if we think about, or are they they're building off your platform, right? Is that like it almost feels like it's a domino. It's like the augmentation. Augmentation feels like it continues to augment. So you're augmenting the data, you're augmenting all the various pieces. Then you're providing it to your client, for example, but then they seem to be augmenting it again because, like you just talked about, they've got all the specialists, all the people that actually are serving the patient. Let's use that as an example, which you aren't a doctor or privy to. It's a fascinating model if I think about it that way. Is that right, what I'm saying, or have I got that completely wrong? Because I may have it wrong.
no, you got it. You got a great sense of exactly what it looks like. So you got it exactly right. And I would add to that not only with so when you mentioned like the kidney dialysis and like work and how they're going to build onto it, you're exactly right. They're discovering because so whenever you have a large company, so one of the companies is Becton Dickinson. I can talk about them, but they're a really large company, a global organization. They have, let's say, 100,000 employees. The issue that they acquired another life sciences company, and they have all of this talent, but they can't get the information together and synthesize because they have all of this talent and so one group knows how to make these medical devices for a certain treatment. Another group has a certain skill set. What they're trying to figure out is how do we get all of this information and knowledge together? We have all of these talented scientists. What don't we know? Right? But they can't get the data together because technology doesn't allow it. They're restricted because each division of BD has a different stakeholder. And those stakeholders have different sets of priorities. And so, yeah, when they bring the information together, what they'll see is they'll say, okay, we have sensitive information, our trade secrets that now we know them. Now I know how to put them in the technology and make the technology better or work better for us. And so they'll these people that are in the loop, they'll continuously make iterations. They'll say, okay, if I want to add this feature set, if I want to add this, I want to do this. If it's possible to do this, I want to add this feature. So it's continuous. They're learning, they're continuously, and then everyone's interacting and always making improvements. I mean, that's the beauty about software is the ability to be able to make improvements continuously, right?
Yeah.
And then the technology learns, what you're
Yeah,
doing.
it's super fascinating. It's super fascinating. I want to shift the convo slightly. I had a great question just then and now I've completely lost it. No, actually I do. It's come back to me all of a sudden. It's not necessarily shifting the conversation, but I will shortly. But like you mentioned about human potentials. Do you see this? do you think we're at a critical point in time whereby the need for human potential is more important than ever? Because, I've had various conversations on the pod recently. One person in particular, and I haven't put it live yet, he talked about, the robots are taking over. It was a fascinating conversation, right? And I was like, wow, it was fascinating. You're coming at it from a very different perspective, which I love, in the whole human potential. And I'm not to say the robot conversation, because that was incredibly fascinating, because where he was going was he was saying that at the end of the day, they'll have more of a role so that we can get back to the life we're meant to be leading as humans, which was interesting, and back to kind of what we're meant to be doing. And that's not working 24/7 and all of that. But what you're talking about here is very different in terms of the ability to prevent, a lot of, let's say, diseases that have been around forever in a day, like cancer. Like, why don't we have a cure for it as yet? It does baffle me at times, like kidney dialysis and things like that. What you're talking about here is that machine or AI can absolutely is revolutionizing, but the humans as part of it are so important to actually finding cures and preventing, you know, fundamental problems that we've had forever in a day that we haven't been able to solve. Do you see where I'm going with this? And so I
Mhm.
guess my question is, do you feel like humans are going to be elevated? Do you think like the potential of a human is being elevated as part of this? Because there's just all this fear out there too that humans are going to, there's not, roles are being, well, of course roles are being replaced, because there's different roles that are required now. Like critical thinking, complex problem solving, creative innovation, all of that. They're the roles that we need more of. So that's where we need to be upskilling ourselves or getting skilled in. Mm. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, because those, there's a couple of things that you touched on. Is that um, one, it's amplifying the skills that we currently have. I mean, the only way we're going to figure out cures for certain things is if we have people that are creative.
Yeah,
Like as I mentioned in Becton Dickinson, you have to have a really good understanding of chemistry, these devices that are going inside, implants that are going inside of somebody's body, precision engineering, right? And you have to really have to good understanding of medicine, and that's not something that a robot can do right now. And the other point you mentioned, so I believe in a sense that robots will be there to do some physical labor for us that humans aren't able to do. But I'm talking about what we have present. I'm not going to have a robot presently in my home or in my mother's home to do any of her landscaping that she's not able to do. That's not being pragmatic. What I'm saying is that with my client BD or for the kidney company, there's data that's available now.
yeah,
And they know there's answers in that data. This kidney research company's been treating people for 100 years. They know they have some answers in that data. They have, in the United States, they have 2,400 medical centers for the last 30 years. They know they have quality data in there. And so we have to get that information out, put it in the hands of scientists and say, these people are getting treated for kidney dialysis and they live in these areas. What's the problem? Can we make any improvements based upon the current data that we have? All that is just you're just retroactively analyzing old data and trying to repurpose it now. Right? That's all I'm trying to do is get the information in my hands in the time that I need it, in the proper context, and be able to share that information immediately. Right? If I know something, I'm going to get it out there immediately. That
yeah,
robot, we have the data. I understand the robotics portion of it. I think we're a long ways away because I've talked to robotics people, and we're a very long ways away. So then putting a robot in a human's hands and everyone's hands, I mean, we've got to put a robot in the hands of people that need it the most,
yeah.
right? The poorest people. That's not going to help them, right? A $200,000 robot's not going to help them.
No, it's a really good point. I've got a couple of final questions for you, and I want to switch it into being an entrepreneur. And you've gone from corporate into your own business 5 years in. What's been the
Mhm,
biggest, I guess, transition, change for you? And let's say good and the good and the not so good part of that.
mhm. Well, the not so good is that it's one of the hardest things you could ever do, without question, no question. The the good part of that is that it brings out the best in you. Hopefully it does.
Yeah,
Hopefully you find something that says, okay, it brings out the best in you, because then it makes all of you're always going to have a hard day. Those are always going to be there. You're not going to win every day, especially when you're trying to build a company. And the path that I chose may not be the path for everyone. We decided, it came from the corporate world, and I thought that we would go out and raise a venture round. And I thought it might be not simple, but I thought, okay, we could get out there and do it. And it's hard, very hard. Unless you're someone that actually has the network or the know-how and raised capital, or you've had exits, then, it'll be hard, right? That's the path. That's been the worst part about everything. The good part is that you're meeting a lot of great scientists, you're meeting a lot of creative people. And when you're building something, those people are interested. And so that has been there's always, you always have to look for the good moments. And I would just say, yeah, in the startup mode, yeah, things are tough. End of the year, trying to hit things out. We just built our product. You're always making an iteration. But what we do is try to compartmentalize things into like 90-day sprints. You have
good.
as an entrepreneur, our team has all these forward-thinking ideas and all these things we want to put our hands around. And I said, okay, let's just break things down as like a 90-day sprint, because then it'll tell us, let's agree on the priority and then agree if this priority fits within this 90 days. And then we just try to make an iteration, pretty much every 90 days. And that's our approach right now. It's working so far. um, Before that, it didn't. So we tried a few things, talked to a lot of entrepreneurs, met with advisors, met with our investors, but you're always making iterations. One of the things I heard from a founder, he said, you know, as long as I know at the beginning of every year, if I make it to the beginning of every year, I know I got a shot.
That's
I
so
got a shot.
good. So good as an entrepreneur, right? Like I'm 2 years in, and but you touched on something just then, and I learned this a while ago around, thinking about like continuous finishing lines. Like if you think about running a race or doing something where you have these finishing lines, but they're continuous, and that's what you're talking about here. Like every 90 days, that's you've stepped over a finishing line and reflecting on, okay, well, what did we just finish then? What are we now iterating on next? Because I think sometimes as an entrepreneur, and again, love your thoughts on this, that, or as with a team and you're building and you're scaling or whatever you're doing, we forget to actually just go, right, that was finishing line one, and we're going to have another one because it's a marathon. It is not a sprint. And, like you said, it never starts the way you set it out to start. It all kind of finishes. Like it's always just a constant iteration. But that's the nature of the world we're also living in, right? Like everything is constantly adapting, constantly evolving, where it's rapidly changing. So having that ability to, have that continuous finishing line, the every 90-day sprint, that then doesn't feel like it's just like unattainable. That's for me, excuse me, when it feels like, oh, we've got this, we can do this, because there's constantly things that pop up in a startup that you just like didn't anticipate, that didn't oh wow, that happened in a good way or a bad way. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I think it's a very smart
Yes.
operating model to have that 90-day sprint, what I call a continuous finishing line.
Yeah, it's like it's worked so far pretty well for us, in terms of people that are responding to it. And you mentioned when you have problems, things that happen, bad things happen as a part of that 90 days, and you just realize, okay, it was part of this 90-day. We have the next one we have to think about, the following week. But yeah, you're always going to have something that's going to happen with the team, especially now. Everyone's distributed. You've got engineering over one area, marketing in another, and you're always going to have something that's going to come up with any part of the team at any moment, right? Things that can't even control, things that you've actually planned for, and you're not able to control. Those things just happen. You just take it as a punch in the gut and say, okay, that's part of the 90 day. You're not going to win every day. You're just trying to win some of them, and create some momentum. But that's what we try to figure out. And just try to. It's also a form of measurement. You want to measure yourself as well.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think? Two more questions. I did say two before, but I'm gonna wrap it at two more, like my last two. What do you think that a leader, and even thinking about yourself, what do you think you need from the inside? Like if you could like say three things you thought that a leader needed to have within themselves. And especially as we're heading into 2026 and the new, continuing to head into the new paradigm, what would you say they are?
Well, I'll just tell you what works for me,
Yeah.
and these are just my opinion. Empathy works for me. Having a good understanding of what the consequences in industries are, because what we're, like I said, we built a platform, but we still have to understand our clients, and not just our clients, but you have to really understand the stakeholders of all of these different clients. And so we go through a long process of, interviewing them. When we meet with them, it's not a pitch, it's usually an interview. And so we just try to figure out, learn from them what parts of their businesses that aren't publicly available that we could see. So that's one, I guess, empathy. The other part would be, for next year, I guess, foresight. And I think with any leader, I think you have to have a good ability to communicate,
Yeah.
especially in technology when you're raising capital, being able to break things down that are in a complicated manner to anyone. That is something that I think every leader should have. I mean, if you have the ability to communicate and, share your thoughts on what you're building, then I think that'll help you a really long way, especially if you're not technical. So that's for me. I'm not a traditional technical person. So my skill is the ability to be able to communicate and break things down.
Yeah, I love it. You do that very well. And what's next for Cloud9 AI? Like what's your next big if I said like not without giving away all your secrets, what's next?
Well, so right now we've got some. Thanks for asking. So next we're going to be announcing. So we raised just about $1 million in our pre-seed. In 2026, we're going to be announcing our seed round, and so we don't have a term sheet yet. We're just beginning the process of engaging with a lot of investors. It's the holidays, so they want to talk with us in
Yeah.
January. Our purpose in our seed round is actually just for growth with the companies that we have. So we built our first product, our platform. We launched that product in August, and we have an enterprise version, but we also have a lighter version that developers and also resellers can use. So right now we got our global vendor approval. So the enterprise process is long. Okay. Usually takes 9 to 12 months to get an agreement. We're getting them in within 90 days. So next year, we're just focusing on growth with the clients that we have. Becton Dickinson. The kidney company is Fresenius Kabi. We have LVMH. We're starting with their brands. They have about 60 brands. And so the next really 12 or 18 months is really focusing on them, because anytime you're deploying an enterprise product and you want to deploy it at scale with any of these type of organizations, there's an action plan. There's going to be a phase one, phase two, phase three. Humans are in the loop. They have thousands of humans that want to see this technology. They want it in their
Yeah.
hands, and they
Fascinating.
want it. They want it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing for them, is making iterations for them. So that's going to be the exciting part. And then we have other people, resellers, that are building products that we have no idea what they're building. So I think that's going to be a really good part of next year, is bringing on no more resellers.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And I always call that shoring up the base. Like you've got your base, you've got your foundational clients. It's like how do you shore them up? Because you've got to you've got to shore the base up before you can just keep going and
Yeah,
chasing. I think it's such an important thing that we quite often miss in startup mode where we're just
yeah,
hungry, we just want more, more, more. But it's like, hang on, let's get the foundational clients right with our foundational products and then we can iterate off.
yeah,
And I think it's really
yeah.
important.
And so we have a Trojan horse model. So once
Yeah.
we're there, we're a dev to work with dev. We work with dev teams. So in any of these organizations, they'll have 100 stakeholders. They'll have 100 customers just for us. And so this is like a Trojan horse for us. I
Yeah.
want it in their hands. They're learning something new, and then we expand. land and expand.
Yeah, I like that. Land and expand. I'm writing all these notes down because it's always fascinating and putting it in the show notes. But Michael, any last leaving words of wisdom for end of year that you would like to share to the audience?
I think I think I've covered quite a bit. I
You
think for
have.
one of the one of the things I did miss is that what we're trying to do is also we're launching also an academy. So we have people because our technology is a new paradigm. We're also launching our academy, so people that want to learn either learn to build on their own. So that's going to be something that will be really interesting for us over the next coming year. We have some partnerships with some universities that we're cinching up as well.
Yeah, very
But
exciting. So how do we
yeah.
find out more about Cloud9 AI? Is it cloud9ai.com? Is that the website? Yeah.
Yes, it is. That's the website. So yeah, cloudnineai.com. If anyone wants to check out the product or if they're interested in attending the academy, you can just fill out the form page and we'll have some of the folks at the academy or even somebody that wants to schedule a demo, be in touch. But yeah, that's basically how you get in touch with us for a demo or go to the academy.
And we can find you on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah, that's of
Absolutely.
course.
Well, Michael, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a very profound and insightful conversation, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And I've actually, well, I shouldn't say actually, I've learned a lot around augmented intelligence, humans in the middle, the need. Well, yeah, it's more important than ever to have the humans as part of like, our human potential. It's the possibilities are endless when the humans are involved and our potential is endless as well. So, Michael, I'm wishing you a wonderful end to the year and utmost success heading into 2026 for you personally and also for your business Cloud9 AI. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much as well. And I wish everyone else a happy holiday and you a happy holidays as well.
Thanks, Michael. Take care.